So, this is a little video about a little thing that I made recently, and I think you can call it a wheel of perception. And the reason why you call it a wheel of perception is because it uses our harmonic system of tuning instruments like pianos and guitars, etc., even electronic instruments, and it translates those musical notes into color using the same harmonic system. And so for music, as far as we know it, and our little harmonic system says that octave lengths are 2. And what is an octave? It means that that's how you get one C note and another, and they're the same note, is because of that octave rule, because their frequency is twice as much or half as much from each other if they are an octave length apart. And so what happens is when you take any frequency, like say of F sharp, we tune it to a precise frequency. And so you take that F sharp and you times it by 2 until it is in the range of visible light. And when you do that with each and every frequency in one octave, you get this little wheel. So, what happens when you do this? What color is F sharp? What color is G? Well, this little guy will show you. And so you have this little wheel. It's got 12 notes. And originally, the idea was to, kind of match this up in a nice little way to see how it works, and you'd think, well, starting from red on over to violet, which nears ultraviolet, which is about the limits of our perceptual capacities in vision, you'd think that you just split it up equally, right? Well, I got the idea from a guy named Hans Cousteau. He translated color into sound as well. But when I looked at the recent science of the way that humans perceive color and in what bandwidths and ranges are these colors perceived, they're a little bit different than what we have when I was born in '78, which is when Hans Cousteau wrote his book, The Cosmic Octave. And so when I found this, I originally made a map that went to Cousteau's version, or at least kept the same concept. But when my lovely assistant, you can turn it around real quick. Caitlin, when she said, well, can you give an example of one of these calculations? She said, oh, that's easy. And so I went in and I calculated them. And so what I got was something a little different than you'd expect, but also kind of similar to what you'd expect. Human perception has a big, wide range of red that it can see, or that it interprets as red. And so, there's certain other bandwidths like yellow, which are kind of small. And so, keeping the more modern ideas of how we perceive color, and then putting that against our musical systems and our harmonic systems, yields this strange little object, which relates musical notes to colors using one harmonic system, which is octave length 2 and 12 notes. So what this does is it makes a kind of unified, cosmically unified audio-visual language, right? It goes all the way around. But also, not just audio-visual. We're talking about letters here. Letters of English, or whatever language you'd want. Now, I know what you're saying. How would A be such and such color, right? Makes sense. So the way that the letters are put into this little wheel of perception, the pattern that I used was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then starting with A flat, the remaining flats and sharps on another round, and then by the time you get back to G, you start just adding one letter per until they run out. And so this is kind of what you end up with, and I think at least it makes it less confusing in some regards, because the letter is the same as the note name. They have the same value. The idea is to be able to use these not just for humans, but for all types of animals that we have data on their perceptual systems. That is, the ranges of frequency they can hear versus the range of frequencies that they can see. And this is mainly linked to the cone receptors, which perceive color in humans and in animals. And so different color receptors are in different systems of visual perception. And so this is how you link our system, say, to another, right? Is you would start with their colors and use only color types and cone types to sort of make sense of the whole system.
What is this little Cipher tool about? How could it be used? Why is it so interesting to me? Well, it's interesting to me not only because it unifies sight and sound, or rather music and color, into one unified language, especially when you link it up to color perception and the cones and the color cones in our retinas. You can get a good idea of how those two interrelate, and it becomes this kind of language, an audio-visual language, that you can use to get an idea of how some other type of animal or being would perceive the world. The musical cosmology idea, musical cosmology being an idea about making music that analyzes things about the cosmos. This comes from a book called The Jazz of Physics by Stephen Alexander, and he's talking about Brian Eno in reference to musical cosmology and the musical cosmologist. But he's also saying it in a way of like, oh, maybe there'll be more of these in the future, you know, if we find out more about the way that harmony interrelates to the universe and the cosmos. Well, in this particular case, it relates quite literally to systems of perception connected on out amongst all levels of energy, right? And perceptible energy especially. And so what you have is a way of looking at the cosmos through the eyes and the tools of harmony. And since harmonic systems are completely unified systems, where the similarities in how things are the same can apply to things as large as planets and as small as insects, and it puts it all on the same scale, all on the same system. And so this is a way of making media and art, and also about getting ideas about perception through such forms of art as map making and chart making and diagram making. And so, this is a little Cipher kit tool for the common creator. And that's all I got to say.